Okay, I think we will start after 3 minutes.
Okay.
Right. Still?
Doing some more for now.
Если хочешь. Ну давай. Я? Не, я что-нибудь услышу. Так, ладно, всем добрый вечер, привет-привет. Давайте похлопаем друг другу, что собрались. Так, как вы знаете, сегодня у нас будет митап на английском языке. Thanks to Arek, who came from Poland tonight. Let's applause to him. Let's greet him. And also thanks to Vlad, who helped me to find this great speaker. So Vlad, please come to the stage. Yes. And I will ask you to present our speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Arek Królak, who is a great blockchain enthusiast, with whom I ever was acquainted, and startupper, blockchain expert, and good friend of mine, Arkadiusz. Can the audience call you Arek? Arek Królak, your applause, please. Thank you.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, I would like to thank Vlad, of course, and I'm quite happy and excited to talk to you because I believe that we are now in a moment of a very interesting change, in a change of paradigm, how we do business. And we have all those big institutions with great renown experience, but at the same time, we have something which is happening next to it. We have a new type of economy, which is powered by vision and passion of people, a new way of thinking. And we are now starting to do this. This is, of course, because of the blockchain that gives us some very interesting opportunity. Blockchain gives us possibility of dealing with people we do not know and we do not necessarily trust in a way which is safe for us. So this sounds quite simple, but it has quite powerful ramifications. Like, we can easily imagine a world where we do not have banks, we do not have civil courts, lawyers, escrows. We are at the beginning of this road. This is very exciting, this is very interesting. We should by all means take it, but also with this comes a big responsibility. We are given a power that until today was only possible to a selected few. Now everyone can be their own bank, everyone can be their own lawyer, but it's difficult. We need to learn how. And when we say blockchain, we think mostly about technology. Technology is great, don't get me wrong, but technology is just the beginning. So to see it better, I will use analogy of a car. Invention of a car is great, it's amazing, but we can only fully exploit its potential when we have infrastructure of roads, when we have petrol stations, we have acumen to drive, and a common understanding that car transport is beneficial for humanity. With blockchain, we are starting this journey. So we have the technology, the infrastructure is starting to grow, the knowledge is still a bit scarce, and understanding of beneficiality is still precarious. So we are here at the beginning of the road, but at the same time, we know that every brick that we lay out today will become the foundation of tomorrow. So this is exciting time to be. So where do we start with this? Everybody wants to be part of this, but how to do it? So I think the best way is to start with small steps. So we just build infrastructure of services that will develop this idea. And what I want to talk to you about is just one idea that we have, like one of probably hundreds of thousands that are out there. So we are thinking about very simple credit, consumer credit, that we want to implement using smart contract infrastructure. So what we are going to use? We are going to use, of course, smart contracts. We are going to use transparency, which is available, strong high-level cryptography, and some maths. So let's get started. There are some interesting considerations when we think about such a credit infrastructure. So what we want to do? First of all, we want to use the good things which blockchain is giving us, all the advantages, but at the same time, we want to have customer due diligence and user experience, which is typical for major services. And these two objectives are sometimes contradictory. So if you think about it, the anonymity that blockchain gives you goes against the KYC, know your customer obligations for credits, and also the possibility of appraisal of borrowers by investors. If you think about peer-to-peer economy, which is fundamental of economy 3.0, it somehow contradicts and goes against our anxiety for terrorism funding. Then you have cryptocurrencies, which somehow undermines the monopoly of state to mint money. And finally, you have immutability and persistence of blockchain, which somehow gives us some problems with the right to be forgotten as defined by GDPR, General Data Protection Act. So how are we going to resolve it? The first layer that we are thinking about is, of course, smart contract infrastructure. Why smart contract infrastructure? First of all, it gives us transparency of the blockchain, gives us security, and also complexity and flexibility that smart contracts brings. So we have already at this step addressed some major concerns. Then, on top of it, we think about how are we going to transfer value. And for this, the natural choice would be Ether. So once we have already established this, what we can get from it? We can get anonymity provided by Ethereum external accounts. The next thing, we have Ether as a secure way of transfer value. Also, we have transparent, open way of value management that smart contracts bring. And finally, we have automatically provided solution for peer-to-peer transactions without the necessary of any burden of any intermediary party. So this is a good start, but this is not enough, of course. So we made our surveys when we were talking to some of potential users, and most of them say, we don't really want to deal with anonymous parties. So how we are going to address this? One way to address this is to allow borrowers to temporarily revoke their anonymity. The trick with blockchain is that it's immutable, it's persistent. So if we once put data there, it will stay there forever. There's nothing you can do. And obviously, you don't want to store user data in the blockchain, because if they want to manage it, if they want to remove it, there's no way. So for this, we think the best way to address this is to propose alternative backend, alternative database that would store such data and give the ownership of the data to the users. So they can manage their data, they own their data, but at the same time, they can use this data to go to the investors, and the investor, based on this data, can decide if they want to fund any given loan or not. So this is one thing. Another thing is we want to provide a nice user-friendly interface, so the users who are maybe not very fluent or just want to use nice, pretty interface don't have to go directly to the contract address and deal with the contract like this. They can if they want, it is still there, but there's another way which can look like this. This is just an example. This is not how the final product will look like. One other thing that we have found out during surveys with the users is that they prefer that the scoring is open and transparent. And blockchain is a great place to put transparent scoring rules because you cannot hide anything. And if I don't know if you're aware, today in most countries, the scoring agencies are private companies and their scoring rules are kept secret. If they say that they are transparent and open, that only means that if the regulator comes to them and asks about the scoring rules, they will reveal the scoring rules. That's it. The customers won't know. And customers seem to want to know. They want to know how they are scored. They want to know how their scoring is built and what they need to do to have a good scoring. So we have proposed a way that customers will be scored based on their behavior, and it's going to be open. Another interesting consideration when you think about digital token loans is volatility. And this problem is very interesting to tackle, and there are many ways that you can try to resolve it. We have an idea that could somehow limit the risk exposure to borrowers. Like, for instance, you can imagine someone taking a loan in cryptocurrency, but these people are earning money in some fiat money. This can be anything, euro, dollar, whatever. So if there is an explosion of the value, and sometimes this volatility of crypto tokens are quite high, they can be exposed to significant risk. So we want to limit this. And the way we want to limit this is we want to say, okay, let's assume a certain level of growth of the value of digital tokens that you are borrowing, that you're going to accept, for instance, 10% per year. So if the value of the token grows within this limit, 10% per year, which is still nice, it's a nice growth of value, it's not exorbitant, you can manage it, I guess. And if the value grows within this limit, then everything is fine, you just repay your loan. But if the value grows more, then you may have a problem. So what happens then? Then you would just pay out that much money like this currency grows within this limit of 10%. So there is a saturation point at which you stop and you don't pay anymore as a borrower. From the point of view of investor, they don't care. They're not really interested in volatility because they lend you some token. They want this token back and they want their interest. So from the lender point of view, from investor point of view, this would be transparent. So this is quite interesting idea. I don't want to get into details just yet because this won't happen immediately. We want to do it somewhere on our roadmap, maybe in 1 year from now, but we are certainly thinking about it. Okay, I mentioned roadmap. So our current roadmap is as follows. So this year we want to start in a friends and family manner. And we are thinking of selecting one particular market. Once we build the platform will be global. Anyone can use it. When I say we are select any particular market, it means that we are going one special language version, except English version, and we will have promotion campaign in one selected market. And we have decided that this market will be Hungary. The reason why we decided this is going to be Hungary, in Hungary there is no peer-to-peer market. So currently there are only banks and some illegal sources of financing. So we have no competition there. That's a great opportunity. Also, this market is not so big. We can learn there, and then from there, our next step will be to go to another big selected market, which could be UK, which could be Germany. At the same time, I'm saying the platform is globally available. Anyone can use it. But we just want to make some marketing effort in some special countries that we think will be interesting. So at the very beginning, what we are thinking is, like I said, friends and family platform, just by invitation. We just want to have some business traction. We want to see how it works. And then the next step, we are going to make it publicly available. And at the very beginning, we are addressing people who are cryptocurrency users. By users, I mean they have their own cryptocurrency wallets, because we believe that people should store their own money in their own wallets. And this infrastructure we are proposing will just allow them to use their wallets in a very easy way to deal with other people as investors or borrowers. In the next step, we are thinking about allowing usage of the platform also for people who don't own their own wallets. We still think it's better to have one, but if you don't have one, we want to give you possibility to use this platform, which means that we will run some wallets for our users. But like I said, it's not the preferred option. It's better to have your own money in your own place. And we are thinking about some other services, but I'm not going to talk about this because it's better to focus on just the first steps, build them, and then see where it leads us. Who we are. We are the students of the second year of Warsaw University of Technology MBA, Executive MBA program. So our leader is a PhD in astrophysics. He is a very successful entrepreneur in scientific research domain. Our sales and marketing specialist is a CEO of a major company. He is currently in the transition. He has established from scratch multiple companies in the Central European markets. I am a certified Ethereum developer with many years of experience in loans and collection industry, and we are supported by some other people like risk experts, design experts, developers, etc. Our mentor is Rafał Czernik from FinAI. This is another financial startup. Next week, we are participating in Warsaw Booster Acceleration Program, so we will be starting working very soon. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, that's the good moment to ask them.
Okay, thanks, Arek, for presentation. You were really briefly, so let's applaud to presentation. Yeah. And I would again ask to ask questions at the microphone. So okay.
Thank you, Arkadiusz, for your presentation. How are you going to tackle the problem of scalability? What if Ethereum Foundation will not release Casper or Plasma this year or maybe the next year? What are you going to do in this case?
So, like I said, we are planning just for the moment to start for friends and family. We want to have some business traction. We are not really thinking that in the first year we will have a lot of business traction. So we are not addressing this issue just yet. We are at this moment more concerned about security of transactions, about some regulations, going on deals with establishing our business model. So scalability, to be honest with you, today is not our primary concern. We have this in our pipeline, but to be honest, I'm worried more about security of the funds. And when we see that on the small scale it is working safely and we have no issues, then we are going to scale up. We're going to do research on that particular topic.
Thank you. Could you please told something about legal or regulation?
Okay, so when it comes to legal, I was talking with several people who are doing this type of business, and after this discussion, I have realized that there are some jurisdictions where this business model may face some issues. In particular, Poland is one such country. There are multiple reasons. One reason is that in some jurisdictions, trading digital tokens is considered like a civic financial operation, which you need to pay one tax of revenue, which is huge. So certainly in this type of legal landscape, you cannot operate in this model. So we are just looking at some other companies which are managing funds of their users. This is not something we want to do in the first steps, but we need to look a bit further ahead. We have selected, based on our, let's say, we have people who are advising us on this. We have selected a number of countries when we want to establish our companies. We're currently thinking about making a model of one company which is managing the value transfer and another company that is managing the infrastructure. That's, I think, the safest and the most reasonable way to do this. And we will be still looking very closely at regulations. For instance, recently there was a ruling again in Poland that in order to be able to deduct the costs for your digital tokens operations, you need to have a proper invoice, which is a bit weird because previous interpretations went to the opposite side. But we are looking at this interpretations, and we are obviously trying to incorporate them in our model. But our first direction would be just to go to a country where there are no such concerns.
Hello, thanks for the presentation, and I have two questions. The first is, do you have any files on GitHub, or that's only idea?
So that's a very good question, actually. So I have some code on GitHub, but not for this project. Actually, when I'm working on Ethereum projects, in most cases I'm writing NDA, which means that I cannot really talk about these projects. Everybody thinks their idea is so awesome, including myself. So we're just scared to put our sources on GitHub. I know this is silly. I really know this. On my rational level, on my emotional level, I'm still afraid. So usually it works like this. When you have a great idea, you think, wow, this is great. This will bring me a lot of money and eternal fortune and fame. And everybody's like, duh, it won't work. No chance, man. So I could actually put all my sources in GitHub and nobody would even look at them. And maybe one day I will do this. But for the moment, I am still a bit afraid to do this. And some ideas that we have, I haven't even disclosed to you guys, even though I am so burning to tell you how we want to do this, because we're just afraid that some guy with a lot of money will come and do it faster than us, and we will be left with nothing. So we are completely supporting total transparency, and it is certain that when we will go public, all the sources, all the documentation, all the materials will be made public. But we want to wait probably until the last moment. But these sources exist. On one of the slides I have shown you one screen of actual sources of our smart contracts. There is infrastructure of 4 contracts. We are doing this in a spoken hub architecture. When you have one contract which is a loan hub, you call functions of this hub. It creates a new contract, a loan contract. This loan contract belongs to the person who created this contract. So nobody can access anything on this contract except for the person who created this. This is how smart contracts work. So the fact that we created this infrastructure doesn't mean that we can in any way access it. So this is like a way to make sure that once you create this contract, you are the only person to access the money. At the same time, this is a bit of a problem for us, because if the user comes to us and say, for some reason, I cannot access this contract, can you help me? We say, no, sorry, we cannot. This is your contract. We don't have any access to it. So this is another thing. We have user information that is storing all the scoring data, which can be quite complex because, like you saw on the slide, the scoring consists of several different items that needs to be calculated. This is quite complex calculation, and I think that's it. I remember there was 4th contract. I don't quite know. Maybe I will go back and I will see. Yeah, there's like a library of mathematical function like logarithm, like we need to calculate some way of do mathematical operations in a quick way. So we are also using some algorithms to do that. So I can talk for a long time about it. This is very interesting, exciting topic for me. But at the same time, I would prefer not to disclose it just yet. This will happen in the next months. We want to go in friends and family mode in autumn, and probably in the first quarter 2018 we will go public, and then all the sources will become public as well.
Okay, and I have one more question. What's your monetization? Are you going to take a percent from credits transactions or something other?
Very good question. So yeah, we need to have monetization, of course. We need to have some money out of it. So we think along these lines. We are putting the infrastructure in place. If you want to lend your Ether, your digital tokens in general, to someone, you can use it. If you want to get interest on top of it, we propose you, let's split this interest. So the majority of interest goes to you, and a small portion of this interest goes to our platform. So if you just have a friend that you want to lend your money to and just use this platform to do all the calculations for you, to say how much the person needs to give back to you every month, then it's practically free of charge. You still need to pay for the transaction fee, right? Because this is blockchain. So every transaction costs some ether, some gas. So we need to pay this. But there is no cost on our side. However, if you decide to take some interest, and usually interest is very small on digital tokens, because there's a lot of people who want to lend them, and there's very few people who want to borrow them. So usually, if you look at some exchanges, if someone wants to borrow and offers 2%, then in 5 minutes, this loan is already credited. So I think 2% is as much as you can hope for when you lend digital tokens. So a proposition is the majority of interest goes to you, a small portion of that interest goes to us, and that's it.
Okay, and maybe one more question. Why you don't use EOS? There are no transaction gas, and it's free for users. In EOS, free transactions.
Once again?
EOS, do you know this blockchain system? EOS. Okay.
EOS? No, I don't know.
Okay. In EOS, there are free transactions, and your users shouldn't pay for transactions.
Okay, I mean, we are not going, to say that we are the only ones in the world that are doing this. We believe that our offer has some additional value. This is what I just said. This is just the first step that we are making. In the next step, I think we will come with really very interesting product, which is this thing that I have mentioned, like a risk limiting type of loan that I believe nobody is offering right now. So I think this is going to be a huge opportunity to expand the existing landscape of services. This, to be honest, we just want to do because we want to have some business traction. We want to see how it will work, and we just want to propose such service to the users and to offer some additional features on top, which perhaps other systems are not offering. But of course, we are not the only ones. If people want to use other systems, we completely support it. They can go to bank as well, and there are other ways of financing. We are just one option on the market.
You've said that you had some KYC procedure for borrowers.
Yes.
And this information is stored in some private database, right?
Yes.
So for me, it's like some centralization point.
Yes, exactly, you're right. This is centralization point. This is centralization point that we are not able to avoid. And the reason we are not able to avoid is we cannot really put any user personal data into blockchain. Of course, we can do it, but we don't want to, because we believe this is illegal, and also we believe this is immoral, because then you cannot guarantee to the users they will manage their data. So yes, I admit we will have a central database, but to our defense, it will not be obligatory to use. You can still decline to revoke your anonymity. You can still use our smart contract infrastructure. The question is, if you remain anonymous, will the people be willing to lend you money? Personally, I think not, but if you think otherwise, then go ahead and do it, because like I said, we are not requiring you to put your personal data there. You can voluntarily revoke your anonymity if you believe it will help you to receive your financing. And why we do this? Because we made some surveys with potential users, and the response was very clear. We do not want to deal with anonymous parties on the blockchain, because people are afraid to lend money to people that they don't know anything about. That's why, in order to make this platform even functional, we need to have option to receive some personal data from the customer, at the same time giving them the full control of this data. And I am aware this is a problem in the blockchain philosophy to have a central point of failure. I am completely aware of it. What I can say is that it's not mandatory to use it. You can ignore it, but from a financial point of view, from risk management point of view, I'm afraid this just will not work. So we need to give you a chance to somehow go out to your investors, potential investors, and tell them why you are the reliable person to whom they should be lending their money.
Thank you. And one more question. So can you say a couple of words? What data will be stored? What private data are you going to store?
Very simple data. Maybe I will move here. Oh, sorry. I don't have the slide when we are collecting the personal data, but this will be something very simple, like first and last name, city, age, and pretty much that's it. You may have some way to describe what you need the money for. This will be like open text, like you can see here. If you cannot read it, I am going for vacation in 1 month and I want to take a new bike with me. I will repay the loan when I come back. I am an agency worker in Paris with stable income. So this is just an example. I'm not saying that everybody needs to make such a description, but if you do this, then I think the chances someone will give you money is bigger than if you just put your first and last name. So basically the data that you are putting here is very limited, but at the same time, there will be people coming to us, serious guys from some agencies, and they will ask us, what do you know about these people that are getting money on your platform? How do you know they are not terrorists? Do you do any background check on these people? And and we need to be able to respond to them. Well, yes, we do, and this is based on the data we get from them. I'm pretty sure at some point there will be a big fight between the startuppers, the fintechs, and the regulators. And I'm afraid we will lose this fight because these guys have the power. So if they come to us and say, we need this data or we are shutting you down, then we need to think really, really good. Do we want to be shut down? Because the smart contract infrastructure will stay. I mean, once what's in the blockchain, it is there forever. We cannot remove them even if we want to. And you can still use it for whatever purpose you think is valid. But this, the website, the central database, that can be shut down very easily. and we don't want this to happen because we want to just give to the user the opportunity to use this in this way as well. If you want to just use the smart contract infrastructure, if you're fluent with this, if you're feeling comfortable with this, go ahead and do it. no personal data needed at all. At the same time, I think this is much more useful and much more promising in terms of business usage.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Who will verify that this person is real, that the photo is real, name is real?
Yes. So that's why we want to do it into steps. So first we are doing friends and family, just for a very limited access of people that we will probably know personally and will be able to verify. Later, when we want to expand it to the global public, we need to have these KYC procedures in place. They are not very complex, to be honest. There are services already in place that you can use. You pay a small fee, and you can make this type of verification. So I think we will just need to start using those services.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. How do you prevent the situation when, for example, me, I take a loan, don't return it, then I take another loan, don't return it, etc., etc., many times? How do you prevent this situation?
Okay, so this is a very good question that, you know, every bank is asking. So how do we prevent bad loans? Because they are really big burden on our balance sheets. And there is no easy question to this. What I can tell you, these are the investors who are needed to make decision if they trust you or not. And these investors will see your scoring parameters. And based on the scoring parameters, they will be able to tell, is this person a reliable lender or not? Is this person someone who has ever returned any money to others? Or maybe this person is lending money to others and has a nice income from this. Because if they do, then the chance that they will repay is bigger. And of course, that person doesn't want to lose their scoring points. Okay, maybe they don't care. Maybe they want to lose their scoring points. I don't know. Lending money to people is always some kind of risk. So we are trying to address this, introducing the scoring mechanism, which is available to everyone. So it gives advantage to the users who are returning money, of course, and returning them on time. There are some other advantages of it. We have a small, let's say, mechanism in place of deposits for borrowers. These deposits are not really to repay the loan. They are more to teach you how to pay money to the system. So before you can get the loan, you need to pay these deposits, like for instance 5% of the amount of the loan that you can borrow. This is not a guarantee that you will repay, but at least it will make sure that you know how to pay money to the system, because if you don't know how to pay money, you will not be able to make this deposit. And at the end of the day, that's your name on the screen, and it's up to you how you want this name to be, you know, remembered by the blockchain, who will never forget. I mean, it will not store your personal data, of course, but it will store your identification number, which is your external account. And if you ever want to lend money again, borrow money, you need to think, what is my history of my transactions? Am I reliable enough for the people to really give me money when I need them? So also, we are not assuming that this will be used for big amounts. This 400 Ether here is just, you know, just imagination. This will be for small amounts at the beginning. And later, when we have some scoring history, because it takes a while to build a good scoring, even on our platform, if you have a nice scoring history, then we can introduce some more developed products which involve bigger amounts of money. But at the beginning, we are just assuming this is a convenience tool to manage small amounts in a way that, in the worst case scenario, if someone doesn't give you back your money, then okay, you can still survive, and that person will be just not welcome on the platform anymore. And of course, we do some background checks. we do some external scoring if it's needed, and we do some monitoring activity if it's needed as well. But at the end of the day, lending money is always related to some risk.
But nothing prevents me to take thousands of microloans and never return it, right?
Well, there is a limit of the number of loans that you can take. And also, if someone sees your profile, then it's clear that you have just requested 1,000 microloans.
I mean, I can have a lot of addresses, Ethereum addresses.
Yes, but please remember that we are also making some diligence of our users. So even, okay, so there are two ways you could do this. So first way, you're completely anonymous, you don't give any data, any personal data, you use directly the smart contract infrastructure, and then you are just looking for people who will trust you without knowing who you are. And maybe you will find these people, but personally I think it will be difficult, because the people that I'm talking to, they don't want to give loans to people they don't know anything about, just for the reason that you said right now. So the chances you will find someone that will lend you money is not that big, unless you know that person from somewhere else and you tell him, this is my loan, please give money to this account. If you want to use the complete infrastructure with personal data, etc., then you need to be aware that we will do some kind of background checks, some kind of due diligence, and even if you have multiple accounts, at some point they will come down to one person. So it's not as easy as it sounds. It's like not completely free world like in the very early days of Bitcoin.
Who is owner of the scoring data and scoring model?
Okay, so this question is a bit tricky to answer because it is just there. It is there in blockchain. The rules are in the blockchain, and it's impossible to change them once they are there.
One model? One scoring model?
Yes.
Maybe scoring traders, scoring bots. Why one model? One model.
Yes. So with scoring it's like this. If you want it to be open, it cannot be very complex. If you want it to be transparent, you want people to be able to understand it. Because why to make this model open in the first place? The reason to do it open is because you want people to behave in a way that will increase their score. So you just need to come up with a solution that will give incentives for the type of behaviors that you want to promote. If someone is not repaying their loan, you can call them and say, okay, listen, you have one installment which is matured, you haven't paid it. If you pay it today, this will improve your scoring, which will be good for you, because then people will be more eager to give you money again. If you don't repay it, your scoring will be very bad, and you will never be able to get the loan on this platform ever again. So the only reason we have introduced the scoring model is to build a way to encourage people to settle their loans. And for this, we don't need very complex set of rules. Well, this is maybe not very complex, but this is still not very simple as well. So if you look at this, we have two general types of scoring. We have something which we call financial score and something which we call behavioral score. And the score is, like the final score, is some kind of impacted by both of these scores. And then you have like different type of parameters which are taken into account, like the number of paid installments and the amounts that you have repaid, what is your current solvency, etc. So it's not very complex, but still you need to take a look at it and think how your actions will impact the final number. If we make it even more complex, then people will just look at it and say, okay, some equations, let's move on. So we wanted to make it in a way that people can actually read through this and say, okay, now I understand. If I will pay 1 day later than the maturity date of my installment, it will have this and this impact on my score. So maybe better if I pay today. So they will be able to make this decision. This will be conscious decision, and they will know how this decision will impact their score and their chances to get another loan. So it will not be like this, that finally they come and says, oh, my scoring is terrible. How did this happen? I am such a good person. I'm repaying always 3 days after installment date. Okay, that's fine. If you pay 3 days after installment date, this is what is happening to your score. You can just see it. And then based on this, you can make decision. If you want to introduce multiple scoring algorithms, this is fine as long as nobody reads them. If they are automated and they just give you a final number or some kind of risk-based pricing, then that's fine. But if you want to make them transparent, open, and you want the people to act by these rules, you need to make some concessions. Okay. Any more questions?
More questions? Okay.
Do you know if there are any similar projects on Ethereum, or you guys
Plenty.
first?
No, there are plenty.
This is
There are already existing places where you can lend and borrow cryptocurrency. But I think what is special in our platform is that we are making explicitly smart contract infrastructure to manage this. So this is not something that we are building on top of a hill. We are building a tower, and if you come to this tower, you can use this platform. No, we are just making smart contract infrastructure, and it will be all over the blockchain. I mean, if you're an Ethereum user, this infrastructure will be on your computer, and you can use it wherever you want. And if one day we will decide we are shutting down this business and doing something else, you can still use this infrastructure because it's still on your computer. So this is something new, I believe. We are just creating something, and we are just giving away the control over it, because this is how smart contracts work. So once they're in place, you cannot do anything about it. So that's why we want to be really very certain that from security point of view, they are correct, they are fine. Because once we put them on the blockchain, what we can do, we can create another version of those contracts, but that version will be already there, and people maybe will be using it. So that's why I think we are different. And also we have some other things which I believe make us different. If I didn't believe this, I wouldn't be talking to you today. I think this is interesting offer, and there will be certainly people interested. I know already there are, because I'm talking to them. And I'm just happy I will be part of this big blockchain infrastructure that soon will be there. And I'm pretty sure there will be 100 other people who will want to create something like this. I just want to be in the bunch of the first ones. But definitely there is competition on the market.
Right, Arkadiusz, I have a question. You've mentioned that your service must be AML compliant, and I have a question concerning to this point. Are you going to cooperate with any services that have already identified users of Ethereum accounts, such as Uport? Because I mean, they can provide you APIs, and you can easily identify those people that come to you as customers.
Yes, we were thinking about it. There is one problem with this, however. In Ethereum, you can always create a new account from start. And This is one thing. And another thing is that
but you know, they will be interested to demonstrate you that they already have a good history, that they traded a lot, etc., etc. You can get more information about their background.
Certainly, but you know, with KYC it's like this. It's good to outsource it, but sometimes better to do it on your own. I mean, certainly, it's a valid option to use such services, and I am completely in line with having a look at those. It's just not something that I think we will do like from day one. Maybe because, you know, KYC is not something that you do because it's fun, because it's exciting. KYC is something you do because you really have to, because you don't want to have some weird guys working on your platform and giving you trouble. Some mobsters, some, I don't know, terrorists, whoever. You just want to not have these guys on your platform for many reasons. So this is something that you have to do, but you do it when you see that there are problems, and these problems may come either from these guys directly or from the regulators. So I'm sure that regulators will be quite fast on us with this, and we want to do something in this area. We don't really need to be more sane than a pope in doing these KYC operations. Because what is the most interesting for us is to have this business traction at the beginning. Of course, later, as we progress, as we have more business, etc., these topics will become more and more important, more and more critical, and we will have to have a really deep look at this. But I don't think it will happen necessarily in like first half a year that we will be operating, especially that we will have some mechanisms in place. And if someone comes to us, okay, your mechanisms are fine, but we would prefer you do it in a different way, then we'll say, okay, we're on it.
Because I see some hidden benefits in your service, because those people who opened an account at your service, they may be interested to preserve this account and to do all transactions via specific public key. That is why you can store this information, and then you can analyze it. You can understand what they do with which stock exchanges or markets they interact, and you know, you can sell all this data.
Yes, we were talking to some investors recently, and they even came up with this proposition to go directly to exchanges and to talk directly with exchanges. And definitely we want to do this. But there's a big landscape of additional extra services that you can have once you have it in place. And we will gladly look at all of them. But the thing is, we just want to have, the first thing we want to have it in place, and we want to have some business traction. And once this is done, then we, you know, the sky is the limit. We can really explore the possibilities which are connected. But you know what they say, done is better than perfect. So we want to have it done, and then from there we will gradually improve. There was some question on the back side, if I remember well.
Actually, yes, but unfortunately we have second speaker here. So if where is him? Okay, so we have time for couple question more. Second.
Hello, I have a question about market risks. You have mentioned volatility, and could you please give details? How do you minimize these risks to your borrowers? I mean, the risk of growing the value of currency.
Once again, risk of
about
what?
Volatility. Volatility. How could you please give details?
So this is the problem, you know. Okay, I can give you some details, but I cannot give you the final recipe because we are not working on it yet. We want to start working on it probably in the next year, and.
You have mentioned the number 10%. What do you mean? Like it's similar to stop loss?
Okay,
something
so
like this?
10% is just an example, but I think it's a good example. So just imagine if you are an investor and someone gives you 10% on your investment, or even better 12% on your investment, because to this 10% of growth, you can add 2% of interest. These are different percents, right? But for the sake of simplicity, let's just add them. What we really should do is like take 1 plus 0.1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.02. So this is more precise.
You're looking
calculation.
From the side of investors, but from the side of a borrower.
From the point of view of borrower, what the borrower is most interested in is what is his risk exposure, or at least I would be interested in this if I was borrowing digital tokens. Because problem with digital tokens is they can grow overnight really big, and then on the next day they can fall to half of their value. And there's no way telling, especially if this is a new token and there is not a lot of transactions in it. So this volatility be quite significant. So if someone can tell you that annually you will not be exposed to risk of increase of value more than 10%, and this is not going to be calculated year by year, it's going to be calculated installment by installment. So if you're paying installment after 1 month, then someone is verifying what is the allowed growth of value of the token, and let's say the allowed growth of the value of the token is 10% multiplied by 1/12, which is like 1/12 of the year, which is 1 month. So this is how much you are expected your digital token to grow during this 1 month period of 1 installment. And this is the amount that you are paying. Like if it has grown more, okay, good for you. If it has grown less, it's irrelevant. You still pay the same amount that you would pay. The only situation, it's like buying an option. It may be in the money, it may not be in the money. So in fact, taking a loan in this system is like taking a bet. So you're taking a bet that the growth of the currency will be more than 10%. So the worst case that can happen to you, that the growth will be smaller than 10%. Maybe there will be some decline of the value. This happens as well. So if this really happens, then it's transparent. Nothing happens. You just repay your loan as you would repay normally. But if it has grown more during this period, then you will just, there is a saturation point. You don't pay more than this interest that would be, well, this is not actually not interest. This is like, you would calculate the value of your token based on the exchange rate. That would be if it has grown over this period, this amount and not more. So this is our proposition.
Yeah, but so exchange rates and the base currency is what?
Excuse me?
You mean exchange rates, yes? So
yes.
you have the base currency, some base currency.
Yes.
Yeah, and what is this currency?
Let's assume it is euro, for the sake of simplicity.
And do you use this evaluation of volatility in your scoring model?
No.
No?
No, because from the point of view of the scoring, you are borrowing digital tokens and you are returning digital tokens. It's just the question of what these digital tokens are worth, right? Because at the end of the day, you are just returning tokens. Let's say we give you the possibility to purchase this token at a cost which is lower than the market rate. So for instance, if the market rate of these tokens has grown like 20%, you are guaranteed, or it's not really guaranteed, but almost guaranteed, because in blockchain nothing is certain. You are almost guaranteed that you will be able to buy those tokens at a discount price, and you will be able then to return it to your investor.
So it's like some speculative instrument, not for for investors that have high risk strategy, as I think. I think so.
Well, I would say it's the opposite. It's like hedging, because you are saying, I give you some kind of guarantee that this instrument that you are using will not be very volatile, and if it will be, we will somehow make it up for you. So your exposure is limited. So this is actually hedging. This is not like very speculative instrument. It's the opposite.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm very glad to you have so much question to Arek. I hope you small announce. So actually, I need to announce as well that we have second speaker tonight. So that's why I'm a bit hurry up. So yeah, let's make an announce. And Ryan, please have your presentation here. We need to prepare some. Okay.
Okay, guys. Arek came for just like 24 hours in Minsk, and we have evening to make after party after meetup, and to show Arek how hospital Belarusian guys are. And I invite everybody to figure out the best place with good beer and probably burgers. I know Arek likes. And let's make good after party all together tonight after meetup.
Okay, but can you repeat the location if you told before?
I think that we should figure out the location all together. So I'm open to your suggestions. Probably it can be something with beer and burgers. I think about, for instance, Староместный пивовар in Карла Маркса, or probably Rakovsky. Any other ideas are welcome.
We actually done sometimes done closer. I don't know that we have some closer. We actually had some after parties at Чердак, maybe somebody knows. Yeah, so I will check out the address and will show to everybody. So it's really great idea to have an after party here, maybe with Ryan as well. So yeah. Are you ready to present? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's greet Ryan, Wang.
Thank you so much.
And I would kindly ask you to present yourself by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nadia, for the candid introduction and for this opportunity to share with you tonight about what I do and what MOAC does. Also, thank you very much to Rish, my good friend, and also he's a founder of the Rogue Initiative, which is a company I invested 2 years ago, and has been a very good friend and a very good colleague as well. And also, I'd like to thank you for the Minsk Venture Day, Nadia, Tonia, and all the team members from Minsk Venture Day to give me the opportunities to come over to Minsk. And it's actually my first time in my life in Minsk, and I'm totally impressed. And I said yesterday, and I have to say it again, that I love Minsk and I love Belarus. Yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Ryan Wang. I'm the founding partner with Outpost Capital. So Outpost Capital is a seed-stage venture capital firm based in San Francisco. So we invested a lot of frontier technology startups. So a lot of VR, AR startups. And starting from 2017, we did a number of pre-ICOs. So far, we have a portfolio company of about 13, 14 blockchain companies in our portfolio. So pretty big portfolio size. And also, MOAC is a company that we incubated last year in January. So till now, it's been a little bit over a year. And also recently, I joined MOAC myself as well as a Chief Business Development Officer to basically set up a biz dev team and help the company to achieve its business-oriented goal. So enough said, I'd like to give you a very basic introduction about the problem we are trying to solve with MOAC. And starting from there, we are also lucky enough tonight to be able to have the CEO of MOAC, David Chen. So he will join us remotely, and he will share you with more information about exactly how MOAC works. And I think tonight the crowd is amazing. You are amazing, because I just heard that you just asked a lot of amazing questions. So I like to give you guys a challenge in terms of that. When David is presenting, I want you guys to listen as carefully as possible. And during the Q&A session, I want you guys to come up with most challenging questions to David. So let's have some very interesting conversations starting from here. Enough said, let's get to the fun part. So with MOAC, we really try to solve a trilemma problem that has been with the blockchain architecture for quite a long time, which is it's hard to provide a blockchain that is secure, that is scalable, and that has good decentralization. So as we know, like projects like Ethereum, the security is awesome. It's a very decentralized platform, but it's not very scalable. And the other platforms like EOS, it has good security, it's very scalable, but it's not that decentralized. So with MOAC, what we are really trying to do is that we are trying to provide a platform that is that can solve this problem: secure, scalable, and decentralized. And also, there are a few other problems we are trying to tap into with MOAC. So one of the challenge is that in blockchain 1.0, we have enabled payments. And with Ethereum, we have enabled smart contract. But at this point, it's still very difficult. Technically, it's a little bit challenging for everyone to create new blockchains. You need to set up the nodes. You need to deploy a new version of the blockchain. You need to make all these configurations and define your consensus protocol and to make the whole thing work. So basically, a new idea here is, what if we can create new blockchain very easily? What if we have a new platform that, in addition to creating smart contract, we are able to create new blockchains very easily? So that would be amazing. And this is the other thing we want to achieve with MOAC. Last but not least, we want to achieve, we want to create a better ecosystem by providing a better platform to the market. So we know that right now each of the blockchain is isolated. The Bitcoin blockchain is not able to interact with the Ethereum blockchain directly. So how can we interconnect all the blockchain? And also, there are always some hard fork situation happen to a lot of blockchains. And every time when a hard fork situation happens, the community behind that blockchain is actually separated, and it make the value of the blockchain decrease by the separation of the community behind it. So how can we interconnect all of the blockchains? And also, how can we make the mining process of the blockchain make more sense? Right now, we know that if you can solve a Bitcoin blockchain block, you got a reward for 12.5 Bitcoin per block. So the block size is very limited and the reward is limited. The more computing power join this ecosystem, the smaller each of the pie will be. So this is not healthy. A healthy ecosystem should be, if I can provide more computing power to the ecosystem, everybody should benefit more instead of benefit less from the ecosystem. And also there are a lot of challenges, like right now, the dApp ecosystem is not very friendly. Think about it. Let me ask this question. Of all the applications in your smartphone as of today, does any of you use any applications that's powered by blockchain on a daily basis? Raise up your hand. Well, not surprising, right? Nobody is using any app that is powered by blockchain today. We've been talking about dApps forever, but why? Why even today we don't have anyone using any dApps? Are we just talking about some dreams that are not able to be achieved? I don't think so. But the reality is we haven't adopted dApp. What's the reason? You know, in my opinion, whether an application is good or not should not be affected by whether this application is based on blockchain or not. As an end user, I don't care about whether this application is based on blockchain or is not based on blockchain technology. I don't care about that. As a user, all I'm care about is whether this application is easy to use or not easy to use. Do I take 5 seconds to start use the application, or do I take 5 minutes to set up in order to use the application? And for any users, they don't want to deal with the key management, you know, how you manage a private key, how do you manage your wallet, and all this mess. And it doesn't make sense as well for the users to pay for the transactions. In the traditional app architecture, you know, it's a developer's responsibility to use a service like AWS to provide a good level of service to the customers. And the customers, on their end, things should be as easy as possible. So the burden should be really on the developer side instead on the user side. But at this point, all the dApps we have so far just make the things reversed. And I think, you know, with what we have as of today, we can never have good enough dApps that people will adopt. And of course, we have some technical challenges, right, that we all know. The Ethereum has been running on, 20 TPS, and that's not even enough to support one simple application like CryptoKitties. And how can we imagine a day when a platform with like Ethereum can support like millions of applications running on its platform? So a lot of challenges are ahead for the next generation of blockchain infrastructures. And I think, you know, for some of you who went to my session yesterday, I mentioned that dApp is the thing for blockchain industry. Without dApp, the blockchain industry is not going anywhere. So we really need to see the actual adoption of dApps. But in order to achieve that, we need to have a good enough blockchain infrastructure to support a good dApp ecosystem. So these are the problems we try to solve with MOAC. And with this, I think it's a good time to join us to welcome David Chen, the CEO of MOAC, to give us a remote presentation on how MOAC solved all these problems. So can we connect David to Skype? I think he should have already sent you a message. No, I mentioned that, you know, he has a hard deadline. So David will be available for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna ask him to go over the basics as soon as possible, and I try my best to give us enough time for Q&A sessions.
Okay, yeah, maybe when we figure it out, so somebody can have questions. No, yes, just a couple.
Right.
Ryan, thank you for the presentation. It was awesome.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever heard about a company, Telegram, a messenger?
Yeah.
What do you think about Telegram Open Network? You might probably talk upon this.
Right. I mean, it's a good idea. I love the idea. And also they have the advantage of having the existing Telegram user base, right? But But I mean, in terms of the actual delivery date, it's I remember it's like sometime next year, right? But the reality is we have so many dev developers at this point. They are creating so many applications right now. So I don't think it's good enough. It's a good enough answer to our dev community that, hey, you know, let's wait until next year to ship some platform so that, you know, people can deploy the devs too, right? So I think, you know, it's one thing to have a plan, but it's the other thing to have something that's ready to go right now. And with MOAC, actually, we launched our mainnet just 2 weeks ago. So all the features are now ready to go, and users can now deploy dApps on our platform.
Okay, thank you. That's all appreciated. Another one question related to community. Are there any plans on your side just to grow that community as opposed to Ethereum or any other?
Yeah, I mean, Ethereum so far has done an awesome job in growing its developer community, right? And I think, you know, definitely there are a lot of lessons could be learned from how Ethereum has been developing their community so that we can grow our community. So I think community is essential for any blockchain infrastructure, right? And so far, the core team of MOAC has been very humble, very down to earth, and focus pretty much 100% on technology and the product. And starting from here, and this is part of the reason why I step up and try to help MOAC become more successful. So I think we need to be more aggressive to basically set up the community around MOAC and starting to get the developers excited about it, to learn more about it, and also to start work on projects on it.
I suppose you'd better be much more aggressive to grow faster than any other blockchain community.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Online, I suppose.
Yeah. Thank you. And I would say that, you know, technology-wise, we might be ahead of others, but community-wise, we realize that, you know, we are behind of a lot of, you know, existing projects and competitors. But what we believe is that at the end of the day, we need to deliver something, right? So we want to focus on the technology and the product first. But right now we have the technology, we have the product, and we are ready, and we are very confident on our, you know, ecosystem building part. David. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
So yes, David, please meet our blockchain developer community here in Belarus, Minsk. And everyone, please meet David, the CEO of MOAC.
Hello.
So David, basically, I have talked through some of the problems and some of the challenges in existing blockchain industry, and some of the features that we want to achieve with MOAC. So if you can take it from here and basically share more information about how MOAC has been solving this problem, it's gonna be great.
Okay.
All right, it's all yours. Yeah, I think please share your screen.
Now it seems like it's loading. We hear you, but we don't see the picture that you're trying to show us.
Yes, I can put the slides on, and you can just walk through the slides.
Yeah, so the slide is one
Yeah, just let's just make sure that we are looking into the same slides, and I can sync up with you. Oh, there you go. I think it just showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
Yep.
Perfect.
There you go. All right, David, it's all yours. David. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hey, David. Just want to interrupt you from here that I have went through these slides. So if you can just jump onto the slides where how MOAC has been solving this problem.
Okay.
Right.
That's great.
Yep.
So that's the time. Okay, that's great. So. also select consensus protocol. It could be different from your underlying, like. But on the top, if you deploy smart contract, you can choose maybe POS or other consensus protocol which fits your application best. And you can also select refer or to award each mining node. So, and the other thing is, we all know that smart contracts store a lot of data or state. We can obviously not able to put those states into the other. the most use of it is issue token. You can issue ERC20 or any other token. So we think in the coming years, with the MOAC system, what you can do is you deploy chains and use chains. And blockchain will be internet of chains. Thank you. I think that's my thought.
Thank you, David. Maybe somebody have questions to David? Yeah? Oh, couple. Third question.
Hello, David. Thank you very much for your presentation. And my question is about when do you plan to start a testnet or product version of your deploy chain surveys? Thank you.
Okay, so we have an underlying mainnet running for almost 20 days, and we are going to release a testnet with subchain, the microchain capability, probably around 20 days in the testnet. So you can try to use our feature to deploy microchains in the testnet. That will be like within a week.
That's done.
David, thank you for your presentation. Could you clarify the difference between your chain and Cosmos? In which way it is similar, and what is the principal differences between them?
Cosmos is more like a microchain itself, try to connect multiple blockchains. It's more like a one, back. So basically, Cosmos is more like a microchain here connects like a Bitcoin or connect Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it does not have a layered architecture as we do. And we know the underlying layer is very critical because it provides enough security, meaning it can against a large EDOS attack. Cosmos itself is trying to connect multiple blockchains together, but I don't know how many nodes it will have. But it looks like it will be not as secure as like a public chain like Ethereum.
And I have the second question. My apologies, but I missed this information. What is your consensus mechanism?
So the underlying layer is the same as the Ethereum, which is a POW. On top, each microchain has its own consensus protocol, and we will provide two standard implementation. One is the POS, which is like a CPU, and we will also provide a IPFS consensus protocol, just as like Bitcoin. So we provide a CPU and a distributed file system as a two standard module.
Thank you.
I have a question about your mother chain. Why did you choose proof of work consensus for it?
Okay, I think there are a couple of reasons. First, I think the POW is probably the only verified solution in public chain setup. Like Bitcoin been running for almost 9 years, Ethereum been running for like 4 or 5 years. And we are talking about like POS can save energy, but it hasn't been really tested in a large scale. And there could be some concerns in the community. One is, for a POS, it creates a scenario that rich will become richer, and then poor will become poorer, and kind of concentrate the token to the token who has the more tokens. And the other question is the POS. We have like a long range attack problem, and Ethereum tried to create checkpoints we are open to that. We can also, change the underlying consensus protocol from POW to any good ones. But on the top of that, the microchains, it's kind of independent. So a microchain can have its own consensus protocols as user one.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Thank you, David, for your presentation. I think we will disconnect you now. Yeah, Ryan, can you say goodbye to audience? Bye.
Thank you so much, David.
Bye. It was nice to meet you. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, guys. So I will speak in English because it's information also for Ryan. We will have after party tonight, and the information about address will be at the Telegram channel chat, Cyber Minsk. If anybody is not here, so come to me, and I will show you how to go there. Повторюсь по-русски, у нас сейчас автопати, и кто не... В общем, информация о локации будет в чате Cyber Minsk. Вот. Кто вообще собирается на автопати? Пока... Ага, окей, нормально. So it's gonna be two of our speakers, yeah, Arek and Ryan. Автопати mean like drinks and smokes, I don't know. Hang out. There is no special program for you, Alexander. So it's just our activity. So we decide that we need after party tonight. So we choose the location and then go there, reserve table if it's possible, and then just talk to each other and drink and etc. Okay. Sure. Yes.